Alrighty, here we go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka G-Lorne33. I want to welcome you guys back here to the Legit Shoot podcast, and I am here tonight with your official WWE TLC 2020 full show review and results. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Hope you guys are doing all right. Thank you guys so very much for joining me on the podcast tonight. All right, if you guys are watching this live, we are live streaming this like we always do. Thank you guys for joining me. If you guys are watching this on demand, right, after the live stream in the coming days, thanks you guys for your support, right? You guys are what keep me going. But yes, thank you guys so very much for joining me for TLC tonight. It's been a crazy week. If you guys have been subscribing, you guys have notifications enabled, you would see, man, I've been posting so much content. So much. There's been so much on the channel. You know, we had our Monday Night Raw review, right? And then for my anime viewers, I had so many anime videos throughout the week because there was so much news with Jump Fiesta. So I never really got any time to do TLC predictions like I usually do for the pay-per-views every single month. I didn't even have time to do a SmackDown review. So I do want to apologize to you guys because I know some of you guys were expecting that, but yeah, you know, I apologize for no SmackDown review or TLC predictions this week. All right, but we should be back on schedule this week, so expect a SmackDown review like usual. But we did have TLC tonight, and I'm going to be honest, this was not a bad pay-per-view. You know, the way I saw it, you know, going in, the build for the pay-per-view for the most part wasn't really that good. Right? Monday Night Raw, I don't have to say much about Monday Night Raw. The ratings speak for itself, right? Monday Night Raw getting a 1.5, easily the worst rating in the history of Raw. It's sad that it took a horrible rating like that for Monday Night Raw to see that change needs to be made. But I'm going to keep saying it. You know, hiring these executive directors, they're just scapegoats for Vince McMahon. Because whenever something, you know, bad happens, right, Vince can just, you know, push the blame, right? No matter if the USA Network or the Fox Network or whatever, he just pushes the blame onto those guys. And then when it comes to having the, you know, investors meetings once every quarter, right, he could just say, oh, we're working, you know, on how to make better TV, blah, blah, blah. The same scapegoat he uses every single time. And it's disgusting. I can't stand it. I can't stand it because he's always saying the same crap, right? No matter if Bruce Pritchard was to get fired tomorrow, sure, I guess that's great. But we all know they would just, you know, replace Bruce with somebody just as bad. Because at the end of the day, Vince hires people that are going to say yes to everything he desires. And then he just pushes the blame onto them afterwards. And I cannot stress that to you guys enough. You know, Monday Night Raw getting that 1.5 rating, there's a reason why I didn't make a video on it. Because I bitch and moan about it every single week. Some of you guys were messaging me on social media like, oh, are you going to make a video talk about the Raw ratings? Why should I? I say it every single week on the Monday Night Raw review. It's garbage. It's serious. It's garbage. At least SmackDown is somewhat decent because you have Sasha Banks and Roman Reigns carrying that show. Just like they carry TLC tonight, which we'll talk about in a little bit, right? But, you know, we know that drastic changes are coming to Monday Night Raw. And we saw one of those changes tonight. And I know a lot of you guys want me to talk about The Fiend. And, you know, is he buried? What happened, right? The Fiend getting set on fire. Even though if you have any logical sense, The Fiend wasn't actually lit on fire. That was a dummy doll. It was pre-taped. That was a pre-taped segment that you guys saw. Just like all the segments between The Fiend and Randy Orton. That was pre-taped what you saw in the main event tonight. But anyways, you know, we'll talk about, NBA YouTube says BC Amplified said Vince writes the show. We know that. We know that it's Vince. You know, SmackDown, there's at least some competent people on the creative staff over there. But Monday Night Raw, it's all garbage. It's all garbage. And here's the thing. We all know change is coming to Monday Night Raw. It's probably not going to be good change, right? Because if anything, WWE's going to bring back Brock Lesnar and all the part-timers that try to bring the ratings up. we saw change tonight. Guess who returned to Monday Night Raw and became a Grand Slam champion, winning the tag team titles with Asuka tonight. And this is going to be the opening shoot, right? Our opening rant to get us started on the review tonight. It was Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair is back. Oh, man. My bro Anthony, I see Anthony in the chat. I say this all the time, but Anthony used to be the co-host of this podcast with me. You know, he doesn't watch the WWE anymore, and I don't blame him. But he texted me saying that his girlfriend, who doesn't even follow wrestling, is pissed that Charlotte already has a champion, and she just came back tonight. Yeah, I'm pissed off about it. Sure, on one hand, you could easily say that Charlotte being back is, I guess, elevates the women's division on Raw just because, Charlotte is a star and all this other stuff, right? Because you don't have many stars in that Raw women's division. But, hey, that's not Asuka's fault that she has nobody to work with. That's Vince's fault for not building anybody up. You have the talent there, but you refuse to make us care about them. It's retarded thinking, right? So Charlotte comes back tonight, and a couple things, with the way Charlotte looked, she got skinnier. That's probably the best way to put it. She got skinnier. I don't know what else to say. I'm not going to say Charlotte got better, but she got skinnier. That's the easiest way to put it, and if you guys saw, her little milk duds, right? They look a little smaller. I noticed it. I was on Discord watching the show with a bunch of my friends, and we said right away that, does Charlotte look skinnier? Does she look different to you? And I was like, yeah, her titties look a little deflated. And I know it's harder to wrestle when you have big titties. Just look at Nia Jax. She can't even move around the ring with those milk duds. But thing about it is, Charlotte, those things look smaller. And that was it. She doesn't look like she got any better in the ring. She doesn't have any new moves. It's the same old Charlotte Flair being pushed above everybody else. This is what Vince thinks is the answer. One of the ways to make Monday Night Raw better and raise the ratings. Bring Charlotte back. Right? Have her win the tag team titles so they can add to her resume, right? What is it now? She's like a 6-time Raw Women's Champion, something like that. Or 4-time SmackDown Women's Champion, 2-time NXT Champion, Divas Champion, right? Now she's a tag team champion. So now she's the next female superstar to join the list of Grand Slam champions. You have Sasha on the list, you have Bayley on the list, you have Asuka, and now you have Charlotte, all as Grand Slam champions. This is not the answer. I've been saying, and I predicted this. I said this on the Monday Night Raw review. I told you guys Charlotte was going to be the one to fill in as Asuka's tag team partner, right? There's problems with this. Many problems with this, right? One, Asuka and Charlotte aren't a tag team. They don't make sense as a tag team. I do say, yes, form tag teams with superstars that aren't doing anything, but only if it makes sense. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't, right? We already have Asuka's title reign that many people, I'm not the only one, but there are many people who have been complaining about Asuka's title reign and how much it's been a joke. Because outside of the matches and the feud with Sasha Banks, it hasn't been worth anything. She hasn't done anything because she has no division around her and WWE refuses to build anybody up to face her. And now that you have Charlotte back, and now that they're the tag team champions, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you guys. What's going to happen is, I give it less than 2 months. 2 months. It could happen tomorrow night. Charlotte is not meant to be a babyface. We all know Charlotte is meant to be a heel. She is not a good babyface. She's not. Right? Oh, the android? Hell no. This is what's going to happen. Right? Charlotte is eventually going to turn on Asuka. right? And then she's going to challenge Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. And then Charlotte's going to win that title. I've been saying this for months. If anybody's taking that title off Asuka, it's Charlotte. It's WrestleMania season, boys. You think WWE is not going to have Charlotte walk into WrestleMania as the Raw Women's Champion? What company are you guys watching? Like, what the hell? I'm telling you guys right now, they're going to have Charlotte walk in the WrestleMania as the Raw Women's Champion. She might walk in as a double champion for all we know. This is what WWE thinks is the answer. That's what they think is the answer. Right? And the thing about it is, I've been saying this for months. Charlotte being back could be a good thing for the Raw Women's division if they did it correctly. Enough of seeing Charlotte pushed down our throats. I am tired of seeing Charlotte as champion, right? Look at what Sasha Banks is doing. Look what Bayley did with the SmackDown Women's title. Charlotte doesn't elevate a championship. She doesn't do anything with the title. It's just there. It's just there so they can stat pad her resume so she can get closer to Ric Flair's record, right? Because we all know John Cena's probably never going to break that record. He's probably never going to get number 17. Randy Orton's not going to, surpass Ric Flair's record. What they're going to do is eventually Charlotte's going to keep winning titles, right? Charlotte's going to keep winning titles, and then eventually they're going to have the new stat be Charlotte breaking John Cena and her father's Ric Flair's record for the most championships ever won. That's what they're going to do. So Charlotte's already at 11 titles now? She's going to get there, right? She's going to get there. And, if you want to make Charlotte important, or not important, but you guys understand what I'm saying. If you want to make Charlotte's, comeback mean the most, this is what you do. What you do is you have Charlotte start putting people over. Put over a Shayna Baszler. Put over a Peyton Royce. Right? If Rhea Ripley comes to Monday Night Raw, because I would not be surprised if Charlotte wins the Raw Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley gets called up to Monday Night Raw, almost wins the Royal Rumble. Maybe she does win the Royal Rumble. I don't know. And she challenges Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania, right? And Rhea Ripley, tries to get payback on Charlotte for losing the NXT Women's Championship to WrestleMania last year. That's what I think WWE's going to do. That's my prediction right now. Asuka's going to drop the title to Charlotte, right? Sometime in the next 2 months. Then she's going to, walk into WrestleMania as Raw Women's Champion, right? Who cares about the tag titles? They're buried anyway. They don't mean shit. And then they're going to have Rhea Ripley probably either win the Royal Rumble or she'll at least get called up to Monday Night Raw. We know it's going to happen any day now. And then they're going to have Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. You want to make Charlotte do important? Have Charlotte start putting people over. She didn't do that down when she was NXT Women's Champion. She didn't. Her reign meant nothing. What was it? She held that title for about 2 months. She did nothing with it. Nothing. You want to make Charlotte important, right? You want to make her comeback actually elevate the women's division? That's what you do. Enough of Charlotte being put over everybody else. We've been down that road for the last 6 years. Enough. Charlotte is not the answer. She can help potentially get Monday Night Raw to where it should be, but I doubt it. If somebody from WWE was listening to this podcast, they would do what I'm saying right now. Right? Charlotte coming back tonight and winning the tag titles. This company is so predictable. I've said it on the Monday Night Raw podcast that they were going to do this. They come on. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that, how easy it is to read this company and what it's going to do. You thought they were going to have Mandy Rose or Dana Brooke or Nikki Cross, right? Team with Asuka? No. Everybody knew it was going to be Charlotte the second they announced that Asuka was going to have a mystery partner. And what about making the Raw Women's Championship important? I've been complaining about this for months. You have Asuka going after the tag titles instead of elevating the Raw Women's Championship? What? What? Are we going to see a rematch? Because we know how WWE operates, right? How much are we going to see? I'm willing to bet tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw, we're going to get a rematch with the tag team titles with Charlotte and Asuka versus Baszler and Jax. It's coming. We know it's coming. My goodness, this company is predictable. They're gonna have Asuka focus more on the Raw tag team titles instead of elevating the Raw Women's division with her Raw Women's Championship. This company, man, it really is crazy to me how predictable and how easy it is for me to figure out where they go. And Edward, I see you in the chat. Charlotte's not going after Sasha. That it's Sasha. The plan for Sasha WrestleMania is going to be most likely Bianca or Bayley, right? They may do a triple threat for all we know, right? But I'm not really concerned about Charlotte. About Charlotte going after Asuka. I mean Charlotte going after Sasha. I wouldn't worry about that really. But yeah, hopefully you guys that was one hell of an opening shoot, right? But yeah, Charlotte is back, unfortunately. And we have to go through this shit again. Absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, guys, yes, like I said, thank you guys for joining me on the podcast tonight. We'll talk about Charlotte a little bit more, but basically I already gave you guys my thoughts right then and there. But I'm going to load up the notes from Bleacher Report real quick as we go through the show. But I'm not going to lie, this was not a bad pay-per-view. I said that there was two ways that TLC could go. The show could either be good or it was going to be really, really bad. I can't really see an in-between. But there were some matches I was excited for. Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles, right? Sasha versus Carmella, which was a great match, which, we will talk about. And also, what is it? What's the match? What's I'm looking for? Roman versus Kevin Owens, and they made Kevin Owens look like a beast tonight, and we're gonna talk about that all tonight. But I just had to give you guys, the opening shoot. But all right, let me get the notes from Bleacher Report really quick. All right, here we go. All right, I think I got them loaded. Hold up, 1 second. And I got the Giants game in the background because I gotta worry about fantasy football. Where is it? All right, here I got it. All right. Anyway, so I'm not gonna talk about the pre-show. We'll go over it, but I didn't watch it. I never watched the pre-show for these matches or for these pay-per-views. So pre-show had Big E, Otis, Chad Gable, and Daniel Bryan taking on Baron Corbin, Cesaro, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Sami Zayn. I didn't watch the match, right? They just put this match together because all these superstars, could have been on the pay-per-view if they wanted to, but they decided not to. But anyway, so Big E pinned Sami Zayn with the big ending for the win. And it was announced tonight that on SmackDown, right, they are pre-taping SmackDown this week because Christmas is on Friday and they want to give the superstars the day off, which, I don't blame them, right? They deserve it, especially for, especially for how crazy a year it's been. But we will get Big E versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Right now, my prediction for that, I have Sami Zayn winning, just in case anybody asks. Mainly because I feel like there's a much bigger feud for Sami Zayn going forward, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in the podcast. All right, but yeah, Daniel Bryan, that's crazy. Daniel Bryan on a pre-show, man. When do we? That's crazy to me. It's already bad enough that someone like Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro, guys that talented on a pre-show. But, it's even more crazy to see Daniel Bryan on a pre-show match. Anyway, let's get into the main card. So our first match tonight, and I knew right away that Randy Orton versus The Fiend was going to main event. If it was a normal match, we know for a fact it was not going to main event. But the second they announced it as a Firefly Inferno match, you knew that something wacky was going to happen. They were going to have some kind of, crazy ending. And that's exactly what they did. Exactly. And we'll talk about that when we get there. But, But yeah, so we got Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles, and like I said, this is like a dream match for many people, and it was a really good match. The only thing I want other than this, what we saw tonight, I still want a singles match between McIntyre and Styles. I would not be mad if we got that at the Rumble, even though I think it's likely that we most likely get McIntyre versus Sheamus at the Rumble. You know, it looks like they've been slowly setting that up. But if they decide to save, you know, Sheamus and McIntyre, maybe for the Elimination Chamber or whatever, you know, I would rather them do Styles and McIntyre, you know, at the Rumble. But anyway, so this was a long match. This match, you know, I think that it ended around the 7:50 mark, right? This was a long match to open the show. And, you know, the match was good, so I'm not going to really complain about it. But, so, at the beginning of the match, we see AJ Styles. He went for a low drop kick to take out McIntyre's leg, and that's what Styles would work on throughout the match, working on the leg, so it would be tough for not only McIntyre to climb up the ladder, but almost it would be difficult for him to hit his finisher, the Claymore kick, right? So then Styles just began decimating McIntyre until McIntyre was able to get some offense of his own. McIntyre tried to put AJ through a table with a suplex, but Styles was able to get out of him. McIntyre then dropped him on the barricade. He grabbed a ladder and tried to set it up in the middle of the ring, right? As he climbed up to get his title, Styles hit him in the leg with a chair to bring him back down, you know, continuing to work on that injured left leg. Then we saw Styles try to hit a Styles class on a ladder, but McIntyre countered it into a Future Shock DDT, right? Then McIntyre picked up the ladder and hit Styles with it, but didn't get all of the hit. So then Styles went back to his knee and brought him down with a chop block. Then he pulled McIntyre's leg through the ladder to apply a brutal calf crusher. This looked really brutal, and McIntyre did an amazing job of selling it. He then also used the chair to make the hold even more painful a couple moments later. So I really loved how Styles continued to work on that leg. As they fell outside the ring, Styles rammed the ladder into McIntyre's face. And then he cleared the table. He tried to do a springboard out of the ring, but McIntyre threw a chair into his face. I like that spot. Then we saw McIntyre, he threw Styles into a ladder with a belly-to-belly. Styles recovered and drilled him with a beautiful, phenomenal forearm. He set up another ladder and began to climb, but McIntyre pulled him off the ladder and threw him through a table at ringside. All of a sudden, The Miz and John Morrison interfered, right? And The Miz and John Morrison interfered, and they put McIntyre through the table. So then The Miz cashed in his contract and turned this into a triple threat TLC bout, right? So it was going to be interesting. Would The Miz pull a Seth Rollins right back at WrestleMania 31 and then, you know, steal the WWE title? So The Miz began to climb the ladder with a smile on his face. But of course, Miz looked like a fucking idiot. He's climbing the ladder super slow. Like, you're at full strength. You know, you're at 100%. You haven't been battling for 15 minutes like Styles and McIntyre had been doing. So why the hell are you climbing the ladder slowly? You should be running up it, trying to get the title as quickly as possible. So you're making yourself look like a dumbass. So then almost, you know, came into the ring, pulled Miz down and drew him into a table outside the ring. Morrison tried to hit him with a chair, but the chair shattered against his back and had no effect. Almost, you know, after Morrison up the ramp to the back, right? And we didn't see neither for the rest of the match. So then we saw the match continue. Styles got to his feet. He and McIntyre climbed opposite sides of the ladder, and they were going at it. The Miz set up a second ladder next to them and climbed up. One thing I hate about these like TLC ladder matches is they make the superstars look so dumb. Like, they have so much time. There's so many moments you can find, you know, throughout the match where a superstar could easily climb the ladder and, you know, gain the championship, and they don't do it because they just, you know, they have to sell. It looks so stupid. And you saw that so much throughout this match. That would probably be the only negative thing I could say about this match. But, you know, The Miz climbed up the second ladder, and all three men almost tried to grab the belt at the same time. But, of course, you know, they just kept battling it out. So they took turns knocking each other off the ladder. But at the end of it, it was McIntyre who was able to, it was McIntyre who was able to knock Styles outside of the ring. and then he hit Miz with a Claymore and was able to climb the ladder to remain WWE champion. So like I said, this was a really good match. It was a good match, right? And like I said, I would love to see Styles versus McIntyre one more time in a one-on-one singles match, no stipulation. You know, I feel like they could give a match kind of similar to what we saw with, you know, Roman Reigns and McIntyre Survivor Series. You know, I think that's a match of your candidate, you know, right there. This was a really good match, and I am happy. I am so happy. They have finally, it seems like they finally wrapped up this stupid shit with The Miz as Mr. Money in the Bank. The Money in the Bank contract this year was a failure, right? It worked out for Asuka, but Asuka's really, her reign hasn't meant anything. But, you know, Otis winning the Money in the Bank contract, you know, it was interesting because we thought they were going to do something with it, but they didn't. They didn't do anything with it at the end of the day. And now you look at, you look at The Miz taking that contract away from Otis, and Miz did nothing with it. Every single week, they're using that Money in the Bank briefcase as an excuse to have Miz in matches with Styles and McIntyre. And it was just bad. It was honestly so bad. And I just kept complaining. How long are you going to have McIntyre have to deal with this nonsense? How long are you going to have freaking The Miz, you know, carry around that briefcase? I honestly thought they were going to probably push it all the way to WrestleMania. You know, I originally thought that they were going to have Randy Orton carry the WWE Championship to WrestleMania and then lose the title to Edge and then have The Miz cash in on Edge. Luckily, they didn't. Luckily, they didn't. And, you know, I'm happy that this is over because screw The Miz. Screw The Miz. I don't give a shit about the guy. I don't. You guys, some of you guys might be Miz fans. I am not. And I am glad, very, very glad that this shit is over. Really. I am very glad that we don't have to worry about this shit no more. For real. It's garbage. Garbage. Miz can go back to catering and we can forget about him. That's like goodbye. Goodbye. Right? But the match was, you know, and I agree with you, NBA YouTube. Aleister Black, if you guys want to go back and look at the Money in the Bank podcast, I said Aleister Black should have won Money in the Bank. They should have used that to make him to one of the biggest stars in that company, and they didn't. They failed him. They failed him. And, you know, right now you look at it, Aleister Black is dead. He is buried on the main roster. We haven't seen him at all since the draft, and he was drafted over to SmackDown. His wife, Selena Vega, who I love, is now fired because she spoke up about the Twitch situation. It's awful. It's awful. But I'm very happy that this shit's over with, right? And hopefully we can move on. Miz can go back to catering for all I care. I hope they break up him and John Morrison because Morrison deserves a lot better. I think John Morrison, he should be in the main event fighting for the WWE title. He's great in the ring. He's charismatic. He has all the tools. But he's stuck in a terrible tag team with The Miz. And, you know, they've done to be so focused on breaking up good tag teams, right? But here's a bad tag team that they should have broke up ages ago. Ages ago. Hopefully, you know, Morrison eventually breaks up from the Miz tag team and he goes into a singles run. I don't give a shit about the Miz. You know, McIntyre did retain, and I am hoping that we get another match between McIntyre and Styles eventually, maybe at the Royal Rumble. But, man, you know, I'm just glad that shit's over with. So we'll see what happens with McIntyre. If they continue with the feud with Styles, I would have no problem with it. This was a great match. There was a lot of great in-ring action tonight. And, you know, if they go with Sheamus, I'm not going to play either way. We'll just see where they go from here. But, yeah, that is that. All right, next up, we had Sasha Banks versus Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was great. And this is once again, why Sasha Banks is the best female wrestler in the world. Hell, I'm starting to believe that she's the best wrestler in that damn company. I really am. I've been saying for months, I've been saying for years on the podcast how great Sasha Banks is, right? I told you guys, WWE, all you have to do is give Sasha the title and let her run with it. Sasha Banks is the MVP of WWE in 2020. I have a special video All right, that we will. It's going to be a special podcast episode that I am planning to put out before the end of the year. So either before the end of this week or early next week, I'll have the video up. But we're going to be discussing everything that Sasha did from January all the way through December, and why she was the MVP of WWE this year, and why this was easily her best year on the main roster, and how it needs to continue into 2021, right? I also have another video planned where I'm waiting to see. We have the Slammy Awards, right? So I'm going to be doing our end of the year podcast where we talk about the best matches and everything from WWE from this year, right? And it's rare because there's been a lot of negatives, but there have been some positives for the company this year. So I'm waiting for the Slammies to happen. Plus, I wanted to wait till we had TLC tonight, just in case we had any other matches that would make that list. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. So 2 special episodes of the Legit Shoe podcast, which will be out before the end of the year. I don't know when, right? It's going to depend on the other videos I have to make. But once those videos are up and once I know when I'm going to release them, of course, I'll let you guys know on social media and during our normal weekly podcast as well. But like I said, Sasha continues to prove why she is the best in the world. When I say it, I mean it. It's not just a joke. It's not just because I love Sasha Banks. She's my favorite wrestler, right? She actually is. I told you guys, Sasha Banks is going to bring Carmella to her best match on the main roster. You know, and I know a lot of people are looking at Sasha Banks versus Carmella as a filler feud. And, you know, this is probably the end of it tonight. We're going to see Sasha Banks probably, I'm willing to bet Sasha's probably going to go into the Royal Rumble facing Natalya. I'm willing to bet that's where they're going, right? Because they're saving Bayley or Bianca Belair for Sasha at WrestleMania. But I'm willing to bet Natalya's going to be the one to face Sasha at the Rumble, right? But I guess you could call this a filler feud, they did a great job. Carmella, you know, this was easily her best match tonight, right? She had some decent promos here and there. I wasn't a big fan of the promos she gave on Friday because she was just out there for freaking like 10 minutes going on and on and on while she was waiting for Sasha to come out. And, you know, she was basically saying things she had already said in the weeks prior. But, you know, the match tonight was great. You know, for some of those segments were pretty good, you know, over the last couple of weeks. And for a filler feud, you know, I think they did a good job. I truly think they did a good job with this feud. All right. And, you know, Sasha put Carmella over in a big way. Carmella's going to be a bigger star coming out of this. All right. But we're going to talk about the match. So Carmella came out. I don't know why I'm saying came up, but she came out with like a cheetah print, cheetah print attire, right? And I didn't like it to begin with, but she kept, you know, throughout the match, she kept having to like re-put her gear on because I guess it kept slipping. So I was like, come on. But Sasha's attire looked fucking amazing. You know, I don't know how Sasha does it. I really don't know how she does it. Every single pay-per-view, she comes out with another banger attire. Not only like when I look at Sasha, you see how much of a star she is. She is a true star. She really is. Because, man, so tonight her attire was gold theme. So in the past, we've seen her have like a white and gold attire. But tonight, it was gold, white, and blue. And, you know, it matched her skin complexion. It matched the SmackDown Women's title. It looked beautiful. Man, I love Sasha's attire, man. Every single pay-per-view, she comes up with another banger. And this is already easily one of my favorite Sasha attires, man. I feel like I have to keep saying that every single week or every single pay-per-view. But getting into the match, right? As soon as the ref called for the bell, Carmella rolled out of the ring. Once she got back in, Sasha took control and scored a quick 2 count. Banks threw her out of the ring, but Reginald, so that's the name, right? That's the name of this geek that's acting like, I guess, you know, Carmella's bodyguard or whatever you want to call him. But Reginald, right? Reginald caught her. So basically, Sasha was angry because Reginald keeps interfering, right, with Sasha's business with Carmella. So Reginald tossed Carmella at Banks. Sasha Sasha didn't know what was coming because Carmella hit a pretty good looking Hurricane Rana on the floor. Sasha did some amazing selling in this match. Carmella then ran Banks into the steel ring steps and brought her back in for a near fall. Carmella then took over and grounded Sasha in a chin lock. Then Sasha broke free, hit a Meteor for 2. Carmella dropped her on the apron. Sasha fell to the floor. Carmella pulled her arms back for a submission while verbally berating her. I'm not gonna lie, I do like how Carmella has, this newfound confidence. My main problem with Carmella coming into this is, they didn't build her up correctly, right? They did a good job of building her throughout the feud, but she just got these 2 title matches against Sasha without, doing anything. She didn't have a number 1 contenders match. She didn't do anything. So I was like, what are we doing here? Come on. So, but still, man, Carmella, the confidence she shown throughout this feud with Sasha was great. So, Sasha escaped Carmella's submission move. She made the babyface comeback. She did the 3 Amigos, right, paying tribute, of course, to Eddie Guerrero. And I like this mainly because I enjoyed this because, Sasha never gets to successfully, connect with the 3 Amigos. She usually does the first 2, and then her opponent counters out the 3rd one. But she finally, was able to do all 3. And I know that had to mean a lot to Sasha because of how much she loves Eddie Guerrero. But then Sasha did a beautiful frog splash. Her frog splash looks better and better every time she does it. Then Mella hit a huge face buster, right? But she wasn't able to keep Sasha down for the pin. Sasha, sold it really well, man. But this was great. All right, Sasha kicked out. Right, Carmella got angry and she tried to pin Sasha over and over and over again, but Sasha kicked out every single time. Pure frustration. Then Carmella made full use of the 5 count to apply some illegal holds in the ropes. She drilled Sasha with a super kick on the outside, but Sasha grabbed the bottom rope to break the count. Then they trade some pinning combinations, which looked really well. Then Carmella applied the code of silence. She then transitioned into a double chicken wing. Yes, and had to release it because Sasha rolled into a cover. So like I said, Carmella showed some really good technical skills in this match. But Sasha did an amazing job of making Carmella look good also. Then Sasha locked her into the bake statement, but Reginald once again, Reginald pulled Mella out of the ring. Then Banks took him out with a Meteor from the apron and allowed Carmella to hit her with a pair of super kicks for a close 2 count, right? Then Sasha counted to the bake statement one more time and got the submission victory for the win. So great stuff here. Great stuff here with Sasha and Carmella. This was a match that shouldn't have been as good as it was, but he did a really good job, and I enjoyed it for what it was. And I told you guys Sasha was going to bring Carmella to her best match. I told you guys that was what was going to happen, right? If you look at it, Bayley brought Carmella to her best match on the main roster earlier this year, back when Carmella was still doing the Fabulous gimmick. I think it was around February. It was a match on SmackDown. But now Sasha's done it as well. This match had no reason to be as good as it was. One of the best matches on the card, and Sasha did an amazing job of putting Carmella over, letting Carmella showcase her wrestling skills. Carmella looks like more of a star coming out of it, and definitely I think where Carmella goes from here, right? We still have the Bianca Belair feud going on with Bayley, but I could easily see, Carmella feuding with Bianca Belair once the Bayley feud is over. Definitely, because you're building up Bianca slowly until she gets to Sasha, most likely at WrestleMania. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do with Carmella. Sasha once again, showing that she's the best in the world, and this was the perfect way to end what was a fantastic year for Sasha. I could go on and on and on and talk about how great Sasha was this year, man. But we'll have, all the time in the world to do that when we get when we do the Sasha MVP podcast here later this year, or later in the next couple weeks. But great stuff here, man. I really, really enjoyed this match. I hope you guys did as well, man. But I loved it. Loved it, right? This is easily probably the most underrated thing on the card tonight. Because, you saw what Roman and KO did, which we'll talk about, and what happened in the main event with Randy Orton and The Fiend, right? There was a lot of great wrestling tonight, but I think this is easily going to go, as being the most underrated thing from the card tonight, man. But, wow. This was great. This was great. But anyway, let me look in the chat really quickly before we get into the next match. Well, this dude John Tolo, man. I guess John's new to the channel. I don't recognize his name, but you're being funny in the chat, bro. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's get into the next match. So we had the New Day versus the Hurt Business for the Raw Tag Team Championships. This was, we've already seen this match so many times throughout the last month. And it's mainly because there's no other tag teams on Monday Night Raw. No tag teams. And the match, tonight was great. We knew it was going to be good, and I did predict that the Hurt Business would win the match because this is the only way that they were going to get the feud to continue. Plus, this was really the only championship that I could see changing hands. We also had the tag team championships for the women change hands as well, but I knew this was going to the titles were going to change hand here in this match, mainly because, it's the only way to keep the feud going. That's the only way to keep the feud going, right? They have no other tag teams for the New Day or the Hurt Business to go up against. Maybe Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy, because, I guess they're becoming the Hardy Bros, even though I find that to be cringe, but hey, it is what it is. But still, so I'm going to pick up here in the later half of the match, right? So the Hurt Business used quick tags throughout the match to cut the ring in half. Woods was eventually able to make the hot tag to Kingston. Kingston did a springboard drop kick. Shelton Benjamin countered, right? Kofi did the boom drop, and he popped up and caught Kingston in the air, but the former WWE champion was able to keep the upper hand. Then he took out both opponents and set up for Trouble in Paradise. Alexander dodged it and nailed him with a jumping knee followed by a brainbuster. Woods was barely able to manage to break up the pin. Alexander and Benjamin then took him out so they could focus on Kingston. Kingston rallied, but Benjamin brought him down from the top rope with a superplex, which looked really good. Then Alexander tagged himself in. So Alexander did the same thing with Bobby Lashley just, on Monday Night Raw earlier this week. So it's becoming a theme now, right? Alexander, I guess he's gaining more confidence in himself, because Alexander, he's had like a fiery intensity within himself ever since he joined the Hurt Business. So Cedric tagged himself in. And, Shelton was shocked at first, but still, he didn't, do anything. Alexander, tagged himself in, then hit the lumbar check. Kofi sells this so well every single time. And then he was able to get the pin to win the Raw Tag Team title. So this was, of course, a great tag team match. We knew it was going to be good. I'm happy that the Hurt Business got the victory, right? I predicted this. I predicted that this was, where they were going to go. But I have no complaints. No complaints about this. My only thing is, how many more times are we going to see the match? As good as the Hurt Business and the New Day are, they have fantastic chemistry with one another. How many more times are we going to have to see this match? Because we know they're doing this just because they have no other tag teams, right? Like, come on. Come on. You know, I'm looking in the chat real quick. My Realm, new sub. Thank you, bro. Welcome to the family, right? I love seeing new subscribers in the chat. So if you have any new subscribers listening to the podcast tonight, let me know, man. Let me know where you guys from. You know, when you guys sub, all that good stuff. But this was good. This was really good. This is that. How many more times are we gonna have to see it? There's no other tag teams in the tag team division, right? And I'm happy that the Hurt Business got the win. But how many times are we gonna see it? I could easily see this match happening again tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw, or them doing the match at Royal Rumble next month. Thing about it is, though, the Royal Rumble, they did announce that it will be taking place on the last day of January this year, or next month, right? So it'll be taking place January 31st, which gives us 6 weeks. 6 weeks between now and the Royal Rumble. That's a long time. That's a long time, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be interesting. We're definitely probably going to see almost all of the... probably going to see all of the titles that WWE probably defended over that time. But still, man, I am happy for the Hurt Business, right? I made a joke tonight. I'm willing to bet they'll probably have MVP, pin... what's his name? They'll probably have MVP pin R-Truth tomorrow on Raw to become the 24/7 champion, just so, all the members of the Hurt Business have gold, which I'm not complaining. They've been great all year. I just hope they can finally start building up the United States Championship, right? Have Bobby Lashley versus Matt Riddle at the Rumble, maybe. I don't know. But still, man, a fun little match. Happy for the Hurt Business, right? I definitely know. We know that the New Day will probably win those titles again down the line. But still, man, this was a really good match. Moving on, we had Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Asuka and Charlotte for the tag team championships. I already mainly ranted about it in the opening shoot. If you guys weren't here earlier, it was pretty predictable. It was pretty damn predictable that this is where they were gonna go. They were gonna go with Charlotte, teaming with Asuka here. They had nobody else. The only other name that I could potentially think about teaming with Asuka is Naomi. But I already said that, the fact that they have Asuka focusing more on the women's tag team titles instead of defending the Raw Women's Championship is disgusting. But if I was WWE, what I would do is, now that Shayna Baszler is no longer a tag team champion with Nia Jax, there's no reason, in my opinion, that they should be teaming anymore. Right? Nia Jax sucks. And Shayna Baszler, she's not been used correctly. Shayna Baszler versus Charlotte, that's a match I would like to see. Shayna Baszler versus Asuka. We've seen that match a couple times, but we haven't seen it on the level that we know that these two can go. I would have Charlotte, or not have Charlotte. I would have Shayna Baszler. If they choose to have Asuka defend the Raw Women's Championship at the Rumble, I would have Shayna Baszler go up against Asuka and finally give us the title match that we actually deserve. Not these little dumb 10-minute matches we've seen on Monday Night Raw. We know that Asuka and Shayna Baszler could probably go, 20 minutes on a pay-per-view and give you a banger of a match, right? That's what I would do. That's what I would do for the Raw Women's Championship at the Rumble. But I already pretty much ranted on this match earlier. There's not much else I want to say. Like I said earlier, Charlotte does look a lot skinnier. I know there was some plans. There were some plans in place or rumors that they were going to, pair Charlotte up with her real life fiance Andrade, right? Going forward. But they didn't go down that, at least for as of right now, they're not going they're not going down that direction. But I could definitely see them doing that down the line potentially. But the match here, right? The match wasn't anything special. Like I said, Charlotte didn't do anything that we haven't seen her do before. She's still doing that awful moonsault where she never lands on anybody. It looks good in the sky, but she never lands on anything. It looks retarded. It actually makes the moonsault look awful. Freaking Lacey Evans, who I'm always, talking crap about here on the podcast. She does a much more better moonsault than Charlotte does. But Near the end here, right? Oscar made a blind tag here near the end and hit a missile drop kick. Baszler came in and tried to apply the Karafuda clutch. Flair tagged back in and put Baszler in the figure 8. Jax pulled Charlotte's arms out from under her so Baszler could break the hold, right? Charlotte then hit natural selection for the pin and won the women's tag team titles with Asuka. Right? Charlotte and Asuka out here hugging like they're best friends. If you guys remember, back in May, Charlotte and Asuka were battling for the Raw Women's Championship. And all of a sudden, Asuka and Charlotte are best friends? Right? Asuka, wasn't this the girl that broke your undefeated streak at WrestleMania a couple years ago? Isn't this the woman that's taken the SmackDown Women's Championship from you on 2 different occasions? Once at WrestleMania and another 2 weeks before WrestleMania the year after? Charlotte was this close to taking the Raw Women's Championship from Asuka just earlier this year, back in May. And now all of a sudden they're best friends and they're tag team champions. I'm telling you right now, Asuka is most likely going to drop that title to Charlotte. It's coming, guys. It's coming. But all of a sudden, I guess it doesn't matter, right? When you have gold around your waist, it doesn't matter who your friend is. Man, this company, right? Like, that's why I'm here. Because I'm here to educate the casual fuckers who don't understand what the hell is going on. Oh, man. But yes, they are the tag team champions. We'll see where this goes, but I don't have any hopes for it. I don't have any hopes for it at all. No hopes for this at all. Anyway, so they won the tag team champions, the tag team titles, and that it was that. All right, anyway, moving on. This was another banger, right? Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship. A lot of people believe this has probably been the main event. And, the story has been fantastic. The way they have booked this story over on Friday Night SmackDown has been great. Kevin Owens fits well in that babyface role, right, where he is the underdog and he's doing anything, because he just wants to fight. Roman Reigns, I don't have to say anything about him, right? He's the best heel right now in the entire company, and I love what Roman is doing, right? The tribal chief, he's just on another level. The only reason why I wouldn't say Roman is the MVP of WWE this year is, all this happened in just the last couple months. For the most part, Roman was gone throughout the entire spring and summer. He didn't do anything at the beginning of the year. He wasn't even at WrestleMania. He was gone from March to the end of August. A good 5 months, close to half a year. So, ever since he did come back at SummerSlam and throughout, all of the fall, he's been fantastic. Him and Sasha Banks have been carrying SmackDown. But the only, thing is I can't call Roman the MVP of WWE this year just because he wasn't here. It would be, disrespectful and a slap in the face to people like Sasha and Drew McIntyre and Bayley and Randy Orton, right? And the Hurt Business, who have actually carried WWE throughout this year, throughout this, this crazy year, this pandemic, having no fans in the arenas, right? But still being able to put in work. And yeah, I got to give credit where credit is due. Roman has been great, but he is not the MVP of WWE this year, right? But, he is operating on a whole nother level right now. And, man, they brought it into this TLC match. So Reigns came out, right? He did his normal long entrance. He had Paul Heyman by his side, getting ready to defend the Universal title. So then, as Roman was watching his title be raised above the ring, KO appeared out of nowhere to attack him while he was distracted, right? So I like, KO here, because the second I saw that Roman was coming out first, I always hate when the champion comes out first. But I knew the second Roman did come out first that they were going to have KO attack Roman, because you knew that KO wanted to get his hands on Roman. That's what KO's been trying to do for weeks. But he hasn't been able to because he has to deal with Jey Uso, right? And, it's a 2-on-1 battle. So, KO really took this, this moment to try to get the upper hand on what's his name? on Roman. So he beat Roman down. He hit him with a cannonball in the corner. Then he followed Reigns out of the ring and hit another cannonball across the barricade, loving the intensity that KO was showing here at the beginning of the match. He got on the apron for a frog splash before grabbing a ladder and putting it in the ring. Jey Uso, of course, we knew this was going to happen. Jey Uso ran down to the ring to help his cousin Roman, but KO was able to take him out with a chair. He hit Reigns for good measure before he went back to Uso and stomped on his ankle in the chair to neutralize him for as long as possible. Like that, usually I hate when the babyface goes after the guy they're not facing, but he knew that Jey Uso was going to interfere as much as possible throughout the match. So by neutralizing him, by injuring his leg, I think that was really, really smart by KO. Then after that, right? Then Roman started doing his thing. He hit a drive-by dropkick to KO as officials helped Uso to the back, but this would not be the last we would see of Jey Uso, right? Roman used a set of steel steps to do some damage, and Reigns used a ladder as a weapon before he brought some chairs into the ring. He put Owens through the chairs with a back body drop before he tossed him out of the ring. KO came back with a chair and beat down the champion. So then he set up a chair and hit a fisherman suplex right onto it. Of course, like I said, Jey Uso did show back up to prevent him from climbing the ladder. So I talked about earlier how WWE makes superstars look dumb when they're climbing a ladder, but I did like how KO, he had a sense of urgency while climbing the ladder, early in the match. And then, Jey Uso coming down and actually stopping him multiple times to save Roman's title reign. After that, Roman hit a Superman punch. Uso grabbed a table. KO hit Reigns with a stunner and Uso with a super kick, right? He put the ladder back up and tried to climb, but of course, Uso pulled him off the ladder and then under the ropes. Owens then powerbombed Uso through the announce table, which looked brutal, right? Then KO and Reigns fought in the ring until Roman powerbombed the challenger onto a ladder. Roman then brought him out of the ring, and then, Roman starts talking crap, like, I'm the head of the table, man. Who the hell do you think you are? I love when Roman gets into that mindset, that cocky mindset. So then Roman went to climb the ladder for his title, but KO grabbed his foot. Then Roman laughed as he climbed back down to deal with what he saw as a nuisance. So I'm loving that, man. Roman just looking at Jey Uso and being like, "You're nothing to me, man. Like, stop bothering me. Stop pissing me off." Owens then slapped him and Reigns speared him through a table. Owens got back to his feet outside the ring and told Reigns he would have to kill him to stop him tonight. Reigns lined up for a spear through the barricade, but KO moved and Roman went through the barricade himself. It looks absolutely brutal. The barricade absolutely exploded. Then, KO climbed the ladder, but Reigns was able to get back into the ring in time and grabbed his leg and pulled him down. Owens hit a beautiful, I love this spot. Owens hit a beautiful pop-up power bomb through the table out of nowhere. Uso stopped him from taking down the title, and he gave the tribal chief enough time to climb up the ladder. I love the finish here, right? Roman, instead of punching or, just punching KO, Roman was like, I'm going to finish it right here, right now. And he decides to put KO in an inverted guillotine on the top of the ladder, forcing KO to be choked out. This was great. This was great, right? And then, KO fell down the ladder and Roman was able to grab his title. I loved how slowly Roman grabbed the title because he's like, yeah, I'm the tribal chief. I'm going to take my sweet time grabbing my title, right? Because I'm the head of the table and I'm the reason why WWE flourishes. I love, it's those little things with Roman's character, man. How long it took him just to actually grab the title, even though we all knew he had the match won. So Roman grabs the title, and that's it. But, KO was sitting on the outside of the ring. He was sitting on the steel ring steps, of course, disappointed in himself. But there's KO, man. KO looks like even more of a star coming out of this. He looked like a legit badass monster. This is the KO I want to see more and more often. Not the KO that, has useless one-on-one matches that don't mean anything, right? But still, this was a really, really good match. Really good match. And, Kevin Owens looks great coming out of it. Fucking Roman Reigns, of course, looks great. What I would do with KO, and I said this earlier, I would tell you guys what to do with Sami Zayn. I don't see Big E winning the IC title. Right now, I know a lot of people believe that most likely Big E's probably going to win the Royal Rumble, and he's going to go on the face Roman at WrestleMania. But I think they should do Roman versus Daniel Bryan. If they can't do the big match, right? The freaking icon match with Roman versus The Rock. That's the match we all want. But since, I think it's very unlikely that we'll get that. I think it's like 90% to 10% that we would actually get that match. I think it should be Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, especially if they're having it in Raymond James Stadium with fans. Because, with the COVID vaccine, it looks like things could be potentially getting back to normal soon. But either way, man, I think that's what they should do. That's what they should do, Roman versus Daniel Bryan. I'm not saying Big E doesn't deserve to be in the main event scene. He does. And honestly, I think Big E should win the WWE title later this year, later in 2021, maybe at SummerSlam. But I think, doing Roman and Daniel Bryan at Mania is too big a match. That's too big a match to pass on. I know there's rumors saying they're going to do Roman versus Bryan at the Royal Rumble, but I would save that match for Mania, especially if they have a crowd. Imagine how the crowd's going to react having heel Roman Reigns. Roman's going to get booed out of the building. And then having Daniel Bryan and the yes chants at Mania. And imagine what they could do. That should be your main event for Mania. Bryan versus Reigns. But still, man, for Kevin Owens, right? I don't see Big E winning the IC title from Sami Zayn. So what I would do, right, going into Rumble season and WrestleMania season, with KO's momentum, I usually don't like having a superstar that just challenged for a world title go after a mid-card title. But here, I think it's perfect. A heel Kevin Owens, or not heel Kevin Owens, a heel Sami Zayn versus a babyface KO is a perfect feud. A perfect feud. I think WWE would be stupid not to do it. They would be dumb not to do it, right? So hopefully they do that match at Mania, but we'll just see. But right now it looks like Bryan versus KO, or not Bryan versus KO, Bryan versus Roman at Mania. Or not, I'm messing up my words now. Right now, it's looking like Bryan versus Roman at the Rumble. But I think they should delay it, have Daniel Bryan win the Royal Rumble, and then go on to face Roman at WrestleMania. Here's the thing. Daniel Bryan said this is his last run. His last big main roster run, right? I know because now he's having kids and all that. And I don't think Daniel Bryan will ever truly be out of the WWE. I could definitely see Bryan becoming a producer, becoming, part of creative, right? We already know him and Edge were part of creative earlier this year, and they actually did a decent job. But if you're going to do one last big run with Daniel Bryan, I would have Bryan win the Royal Rumble. Given the Rumble victory he should have got back in 2014, back in 2015. Give him that big Royal Rumble victory and give us the match between Roman and Daniel Bryan at Mania. The story writes for itself. There's really nothing else I have to say. The story writes itself. WWE would be stupid not to do the match at WrestleMania. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. In the chat. Would you rather see? I think the biggest match would be Roman versus The Rock, but I think they should do Roman versus Bryan at Mania, right? And save Big E's title push for potentially later on in the year. But that's just the way I see it. All right. Moving on into the last match on the show tonight, we had what up, JDE, man? You're here a little bit late, but good to see you. Going on into the last match, Randy Orton versus The Fiend, Bray Wyatt in a Firefly Inferno match, right? All right, so we knew that this was going to be wacky, right? We have not seen an Inferno match since, what was it? Last time we saw an Inferno match was I don't remember. The Attitude Era with the Undertaker and Cade, you know, and this was the only reason why this match main evented. Because for the most part, Roman versus KO was probably the best story coming into TLC. Excuse me. So it would make the most sense for that match to main event the show. But you know, I wanted to see what was gonna happen. I was joking around on Twitter and with my guys. I was like, what if freaking Alexa Bliss gets put on fire here? But someone did get put on fire, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. So, you know, at first we saw Randy Orton. He came out. He was wearing a hoodie, right? To use more as protection. You know, the Fiend came out. He was wearing, you know, a long trench coat, and of course, this was supposed to protect him. And, you know, I kept thinking back to, you know, how The Undertaker, right? You guys know the story of how The Undertaker, you know, the WWE pyro guy who set the pyro on the stage during Undertaker's entrance at the Elimination Chamber back in 2010. And how... you know, Undertaker's trench coat, if he wasn't wearing that during that entrance, how he probably would have had severe burns. So I was just thinking about that as, you know, this match went on. But Mike Rome, the ring announcer, stated that the same rules as a normal Inferno match applied before Orton made his entrance. The only thing about it is, we were like, where's the fire? Where's the fire? You know, usually, you know, they light the ring on fire after the bells ring, but the match started and there was no fire, and we were like, what the hell? So basically Orton took the first shot with an RKO, but Wyatt countered it and tried to go for Sister Abigail, right? And he was eventually able to hit Sister Abigail after about 2 or 3 times, and then he motioned out of nowhere. He put his hands up like he's the Undertaker, and all of a sudden, you know, flames appeared across the ring, all across the Thunderdome. I'm not gonna lie, the visual looked pretty damn cool. I liked the way the visual looked. You know, this was much different than the Undertaker and Kane Inferno match back all those years ago. But I didn't mind it. I didn't mind the way this looked at all. They had the fire set by the barricade instead of the ring apron, but, you know, it was whatever. So then Wyatt grabbed a belt. He lit that on fire. I loved how, instead of just trying to, light each other on fire like a normal way, like pushing someone too close to the fire, Wyatt and Orton lit objects on fire, and, they try to hit them with them. And like I said, WWE has balls. WWE has a lot of balls doing some of the stuff they did in that match tonight. So Wyatt tried to hit Orton with the Litten belt, but Orton was able to counter. So then the Fiend found a pickaxe under the ring, and he tried to murder Orton with it, but Orton dodged. So then also, friggin' Randy Orton got put in a rocking chair, and before Orton was put in the rocking chair, the Fiend put gasoline oil over the rocking chair, so Orton was sitting in it. And then, the Fiend, if you guys have played GTA, you guys know how to do this. The Fiend, lit a trail and basically was going to try to, light the rocking chair on fire with Randy Orton sitting over it. Orton moved at the last second to avoid being lit up. So then Orton used an axe handle and the steel steps to attack Wyatt. Then he almost put the Fiend's face into the fire, but Wyatt broke free. He grabbed the axe handle and lit it on fire, but Orton knocked it out of his hand. The Fiend applied the mandible claw, but Orton pushed himself into the flames and set him on fire. This was crazy. Because when the Fiend actually got set on fire, but the thing about it is, right, and I would not be surprised if Bray Wyatt wakes up tomorrow and he finds out one of his dreadlocks or some of his dreadlocks are gone. Because there's no way the Fiend didn't lose any hair follicles tonight. There's no way, right? When the Fiend got lit on fire, and it was mainly his jacket, the Fiend, the way he reacted at first, it was like he couldn't even tell that he was on fire. Orton was shocked at it as well. Orton went back into the ring. The Fiend stood there for a couple seconds. Then he started noticing that he was on fire, right? But it didn't affect him. The Fiend on fire, legit. He was actually on fire, runs into the ring, right? and then he gets hit with an RKO. So the Fiend gets hit with a brutal RKO while on fire. This was crazy. So then the flames died down, and Orton kept checking to see if the Fiend was even still alive, but he wasn't moving. And if you guys notice, if you look at the upper right hand corner, usually during a WWE event or pay-per-view, it says live, because they're usually, they're showing the match live from the Thunderdome. But I noticed that it wasn't there, and I knew why it wasn't there, right? This main event was pre-taped, and they're able to do that because they are in the Thunderdome, right? Most of the segments between The Fiend and Bray Wyatt are pre-taped. Like the segment a couple weeks ago when, Randy Orton was facing Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt, and then in the middle of the match, you hear The Fiend's music, and then The Fiend appears instead of Bray Wyatt in Mr. Rogers gear. That was pre-taped. The segment last week where we saw Orton lock the Fiend inside like a mini casket or like a crate, and he lit that on fire, and then the Fiend breaks out. That was a pre-taped segment, and the match tonight was also a pre-taped match. Because what happened, I could tell this right away, and they're able to do this because the Fiend wears a mask, and you can easily get a Fiend mask from WWE Shop. So what they did is they brought a dummy. This was clearly a dummy. They made some kind of dummy. And what happens is Orton grabs a gasoline can and he doses the Fiend. Then he grabs some matches. He lit one and dropped it onto Wyatt as the announcers were screaming at Orton to stop. So the Fiend, right? Put that in, quotation marks. The Fiend supposedly burned in the ring, and that's how the pay-per-view went off the air. Randy Orton did his normal pose while, celebrating, getting rid of the Fiend for good. Clearly that was a dummy. There's no way they would actually, light the real Bray Wyatt on fire. Imagine going to work and being told, hey, you're getting lit on fire tonight. Wow. There's no way that we would ever do that, But like I said, the visual was cool, and then it was easy to see why they put that in the main event, right? They wanted to do the last image of TLC to be the Fiend dying in front of your very eyes. But I don't know. So the way I look at it, right, as a wrestling match, it was nothing special, right? This, Randy Orton, the Fiend. They don't really have, amazing chemistry. We've known this because we've seen Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt before. They've never really had any special match. From a wrestling perspective, this was nothing. This was more between, a cinematic bout and an Inferno match. That's really what this was at the end of the day. This is one of those special matches where you weren't really supposed to focus on the in-ring action, and you were supposed to be more focused on the brawl. But I did like seeing how Orton and the Fiend legit tried to kill each other. Some of those spots, man, were wicked dangerous. And if you're not careful, you can actually get really, really hurt. Like the rocking chair spot, the axe handle spot. You got to be careful. But it's going to be... I know the Fiend's supposed to be one of those supernatural characters, but it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this. Clearly, this feud is not over, and I'm not surprised that they went with this direction. They're probably going to continue this going into the, this is why, they're going to continue with this going into the Royal Rumble. I'm willing to bet. We're going to see this again at the Royal Rumble, maybe with another stipulation. Maybe we see Edge return. I don't know. But I think they're going to continue with this feud going forward until they're ready to restart the Orton and Edge feud, because I still think we're getting that match at WrestleMania. They got to, have their third and final match, of course, because you know how WWE is, right? We always got to do 3 matches. But either way, this wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. And, from a storytelling perspective, they've done a good job with Randy Orton and The Fiend. They have. They've done a good job with the story. It's just the in-ring action. That's the only problem, really. It's going to be interesting to see, what happens. The Fiend is supposed to be one of those supernatural characters. So, he's like the Undertaker. You can lit him on fire. You can kill him as many times as you want. But he will always come back. So The Fiend will come back. right? You know, and he's gonna get his revenge on Randy Orton. We'll just have to see when and where. How long are they gonna sell that the Fiend is dead on WWE television? You know, I don't know where Alexa Bliss is. I know she's been filming a project. But, you know, if Alexa Bliss is back on Raw tomorrow night or in the coming weeks, how will Alexa react to seeing, you know, her new best friend be burnt alive? I think that's going to be intriguing. But, like, still, I am invested in the story, you know. But the matches, they don't mean much. They honestly are whatever. But anyway, guys, you know, either way, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it at all. But, you know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about the Fiend match? You know, people are starting to say that the Fiend is buried because of this. I don't think so. I don't think the Fiend is buried. I don't see the Fiend as buried, right? You know, the WWE wants to get the Fiend over as a top babyface. They just did this wacky so they could continue the storyline. This is very similar to how they had Randy Orton burn down the Wide compound. It kind of goes, well, you know, it kind of makes sense with the story. So you know, I don't have a problem with it. You know, it is what it is. It's wacky, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. We'll just have to see where they go with this in the next couple of weeks. I'm willing to bet that Randy Orton will probably cut a promo tomorrow night on Raw about how he burned the Fiend, how he ended the Fiend, all this, and we'll probably just go from there with this storyline. But either way, man, you know, that's about it, guys. Thank you guys for so very much for joining me on the podcast tonight, right? This was a good pay-per-view. This was a good pay-per-view. It wasn't perfect, but for the most part, you know, I enjoyed it. Sasha Banks versus Carmella was great. Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles was great. Roman Reigns versus KO was fantastic. The Hurt Business would become tag team champions. That was, you know, pretty good. I'm not that excited that Charlotte is back, but it's whatever. That was probably the only big downfall for me on the show. And I didn't mind the main event. It wasn't anything special. It was just more the cinematic effects, right? The crazy stuff that you saw. But easily, man, Sasha Banks and Roman Reigns continue to carry WWE. They're not only carrying SmackDown, but they're continuing to carry this company, man. They're easily the best things going. And I don't think anybody will disagree with me when I say that. Sasha and Roman are easily the two biggest stars in the company right now. But this was a good show tonight. This was a good show. Make sure to let me know in the comment section what you guys thought of WWE TLC tonight. Leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed. Also, make sure to enable notifications by clicking the bell right next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Other than that, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Make sure to join me for the Monday Night Raw review tomorrow night. So we'll be live here with the Monday Night Raw review as always, man. Hopefully it's not a bad show, but of course I don't have any trust in WWE. We'll see what happens on Monday Night Raw with the TLC fallout. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you guys so very much. Stay safe and healthy, y'all. Like I said, make sure you guys are subscribed. You guys have notifications enabled because I have a lot of cool content coming in the next couple weeks as we wrap up 2020 for WWE. Thank you guys once again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys